Talking about healthy church multiplication in the Park Street circumstance, it's not simply failing to recognize when the Holy Spirit is able to create a healthy church out of ashes, but it is the Four C's leadership as continued to actively work to stymie the great work of this church. And what I mean by that is this: even as beauty was created from ashes when the flock was scattered for months, when people from Park Street were scattered for months, hundreds of them, many not attending church, many attending church less frequently, almost all of them engaging less with within a community or within with the leadership of a church, and some of whom not even going at all, and maybe even on the brink of losing their faith or needing to take a break. In that environment, one family who was trying to figure out what to do next, their young daughter asked, "Why are we not going to church?" And the parents didn't know what to do, so they started inviting people into their home and to worship, especially those who had been cast out from the cast out more thoroughly from their prior church. And that gathering grew, and it grew to a point that they realized they needed to set up a structure and rent a space that was larger in order to minister to people who had been hurt. And originally the vision was not to be permanent. um, but and the hope by many was to actually reunify with their former church at a certain point as the temperature cooled. However, as time went on, and I'm getting back to why the Four Cs has a serious problem with hewing to the value of healthy church multiplication. As ministers who had been fired, who had been cast out, who had been pushed out, or given extraordinarily unpleasant employment circumstances until they resigned, as they sought to help minister to these people who had also been cast out and offered to be walked away from the church, offered by Park Street leadership to be walked away from the church, as those ministers sought to minister to the very people that needed it most and desired it and desired somebody that they could trust, the Four Cs stepped in to place them under investigation and, in fact, summarily kicked somebody out without due process. And so, with that said, even as a church is attempting to create health through the Holy Spirit out of a dark circumstance, the Four Cs steps in and seeks to quash it, or at least disincentivize it or disassociate from it, rather than encourage a body of conservative congregational believers to flourish and thrive and grow. So, with that said, I don't think that the Four Cs can be trusted to really be dedicated to healthy church multiplication when the opportunity to do the right thing, the Christ-like thing, the unifying thing is right in front of them, and they instead sow division and lay burdens on people that who are actively ministering to others, and lay burdens on them that they barely lift a finger to attempt to walk through it with them, and instead, without adhering to any measure of grace or seeking any form of the truth, they just take their own narrative, their own destructive narrative to its conclusion. And that's not what health, I mean, let me know if you think differently, but um, I'd like you to consider, is that healthy church multiplication? And is that a commitment to healthy church multiplication that can be trusted? I mean, that's for you to decide. But I think that it's likely that the people who are day in and day out working within their local church community, within their local body of believers, with even with people who disagree with them theologically, but are committed to service in the community outside the church or in churches with different beliefs. I think that you are best positioned to grow your churches, and as you cultivate health as you cultivate health, to try to spread it and to try to grow the body of believers geographically. And the four C's should, at a leadership conference level, should demonstrate a commitment to supporting you and supporting everybody and every congregation uh, with their polity, with their commitment to congregational polity and conservative theology. Um, and they patently fail to do so unless it's precisely on the terms of a couple of people's egos. And again, do you want to support that? Do you want to be in fellowship with a leadership structure that not only allows that to happen, but affirms it again and again and again? That's for you to decide.